Have you ever seen someone who has every reason to complain, yet somehow remains gentle, steady, even quietly joyful, and wondered what secret they are living by? Have you ever noticed that when your own heart is turbulent, the smallest inconvenience feels like a catastrophe, but when your heart is peaceful, even real problems become easier to handle? Welcome back, dear friend. Today we are going to sit with a short, ancient verse that carries surprisingly modern guidance about what it means to truly practice, to really walk a path of wisdom and compassion. Instead of counting how many rituals you complete, this teaching asks a simpler question: is your heart becoming more level? And are your actions becoming more upright? The verse begins roughly like this: when the heart is calm, external rules become natural. When conduct is straight, formal meditation becomes less of a struggle. In practical terms, if your inner world is full of storms, envy, anger, endless comparison, no amount of chanting or sitting will bring you real peace. You might look pious from the outside, but inside, you are still being thrown around. Conversely, if you cultivate an even, humble heart, you will spontaneously avoid the worst forms of harm. You will not need to constantly fight with yourself. Imagine someone called Marco. He listens to spiritual talks on his commute, keeps sacred texts in his room, wears a bracelet with mantras. He genuinely believes he is on a path of awakening. But observe his daily reactions. And another story appears. When a colleague gets promoted, a sharp jealousy rises. Why him? Not me. When a friend buys a new apartment, he feels irritated. Life is unfair. When his partner makes a small mistake, he explodes. One day, as he sits in his car, a chant playing in the background, a driver abruptly cuts in front of him and brakes. Without thinking, Marco slams the horn and shouts insults, his face hot with rage. In that split second, the mantras on his bracelet and the teachings in his playlist vanish from his awareness. Only the raw habit of anger remains. Later that evening, a line from the ancient verse surfaces in his mind like a quiet bell. When the heart is calm, what need is there for strict discipline? He suddenly sees the gap between his external practice and his inner state. It is not that chanting or reading are useless, but that he has been using them as decorations rather than tools. He cares more about looking spiritual than about actually softening his heart. This realization marks the beginning of real practice. Instead of asking, "How many pages did I read?" Marco begins to ask, "How did I respond to the people around me today? Was I gentle or sharp? Did I listen, or did I only want to be right?" He discovers that his real meditation is not just on the cushion, but in the office queue, in family conversations, in how he handles criticism. The verse goes on to talk about gratitude to parents, kindness between people of different status, the power of humility and patience. It weaves together spirituality and everyday ethics, reminding us that destiny is not an abstract concept. It is shaped by how we treat those closest to us. You cannot curse your parents and expect a smooth path. You cannot bully those below you and expect loyal support. You cannot refuse to bend and then wonder, "Why I feel so rigid." Think of someone who is truly filial, not in a showy way, not posting pictures of expensive gifts online, but quietly visiting, calling, helping, listening. According to the logic of karma, this attitude nourishes the very roots of their life. It is like watering the soil that holds the tree of their destiny. When storms come, that tree may sway, but it will not fall as easily. Think of someone who treats their employees, juniors or service workers with deep respect. They do not use power to humiliate. They use it to protect and uplift. Such a person is building invisible bridges of goodwill. Even if they stumble, people will be more willing to help them back up. This is what it means, in spiritual language, to cultivate merit in relationships. Now, none of this is about being perfect. We will all lose our tempers sometimes. We will all be selfish. The point is to notice, to regret sincerely, to adjust. When an elder gives you bitter advice, your first impulse may be to reject it, to feel criticized. Why are you always nagging? But the verse reminds us medicine is often bitter, and words that sting can be the ones that save us. If we can see criticism as a mirror rather than an attack, we unlock an incredible power, the ability to transform shame into wisdom. Every time you admit a mistake and choose differently next time, you strengthen the muscles of awakening. You shift from a victim of karma to a collaborator with it. There is also an important line about protecting your own faults. When you always defend yourself, always find excuses, always refuse feedback, you are not shielding your dignity. You are protecting your ignorance. It is like hiding a wound under dirty bandages because you are embarrassed. Instead of letting a doctor clean it, real courage is not in never being wrong. It is in facing your wrongs honestly and using them as fuel for growth. Maybe you grew up in an environment where admitting fault was dangerous. Maybe you were harshly punished or mocked when you made mistakes. If so, of course your instinct now is to hide. This is understandable, but as an adult seeker, you can slowly create a new inner climate, one where you treat your own errors with compassion and determination, not with cruelty. I was wrong, but that does not make me worthless. I can learn. A calm heart is not born overnight. It is the fruit of countless small acts, holding your tongue when you want to lash out, choosing curiosity over judgment, remembering the shortness of life and allowing small annoyances to pass. It is also the fruit of practicing gratitude for your parents, your teachers, your friends, the strangers who make your life possible in ways you never see. When your heart is calm, life does not magically become easy, but difficulty stops feeling like personal persecution. It becomes part of the weather. A rude comment is like a gust of wind. You feel it, but it does not push you off your path. A delay is like a passing cloud. You notice it, but the sky of your mind remains open. If you are in a period where everything feels hard, where people seem unreasonable, where your efforts are not recognized, you might be tempted to seek a dramatic solution, a new country, a new career, a new partner. Sometimes such changes are necessary, but before you rearrange the whole outside world, see what happens if you begin with your heart. What would it look like in your specific situation to practice a calm heart and straight conduct for just 1 week? Maybe it means really listening when a parent or elder shares their concern, even if their language is clumsy. Maybe it means apologizing to someone you snapped at. Maybe it means staying honest at work, even when shortcuts are tempting. Maybe it means letting go of the need to win every argument. Share with us in the comments if this verse has touched something in you. Have you ever experienced how a small shift in your inner attitude made an external problem feel lighter? What is one concrete way you might experiment with calm heart, upright action in the coming days? If this reflection nourishes your journey toward a less bitter, more awake life, please subscribe, like, comment, and consider supporting the channel as a member. Together we can keep learning how to live spiritual wisdom in the middle of very human days. At the end of the day, we all need something that brings us back to ourselves. Something that reminds us to slow down, breathe, and stay centered. Simple bracelet can do exactly that. Every bead you touch brings your mind back to calm, back to clarity, back to the present moment. If one of the bracelets you just saw resonates with you, you can find the purchase link in the video description and explore more beautiful styles in our channel store. Let the one meant for you find its way to your wrist.